Hi everyone, today we're doing a winter houseplant tour and it's been a while since my last tour, probably I think almost 6 months, so I do have lots of new plants since then. So yeah, I hope you enjoy the tour. Let's get started. So we're starting off with one of my favourite plants. This is my syngonium mojito, and this one's doing a lot better since I've set up some grow lights. It was struggling a little bit, I think because of the cold, and it did have spider mites too, but I think it's on the up now because it really seems to be doing well again. Hopefully it will be okay. And yeah, this remains one of my favourite plants. It hasn't really grown much during winter, so presumably it will catch up again in spring and start growing then. But yeah, I really love this one. I've already put a pole extension on it ready for the new growth in the growing season, and I'm really looking forward to seeing it grow some more. This one really does have everything I look for in a plant. It has beautiful variegation and it's really easy to look after too, and I just love the shape of those leaves. And once this one starts growing again, I do plan on propagating this one this year, as I'd really like to not only fill out the pot that I already have a bit more, but I'd also like to have a backup plant of this one, you know, just in case, because you never know what's going to happen, do you? So yeah, I figure I'm going to do that this year. So if something does go wrong, at least then I have a backup plant just in case. Next is my dieffenbachia, and I think this is the dieffenbachia compacta, I believe. And yeah, this one had a little struggle recently, but since I put it in its new pot, it seems just fine and it's growing again and looking healthy. So yeah, maybe it's okay. It seems to have stabilized a bit. So I don't think there's a problem that I need to deal with here. I think maybe it was just root bound, but I really do love this one. It has such cool splashy variegation, and I definitely love this one just as much as I did when I first bought it. It's a really interesting plant to grow, and I know a lot of you guys have dieffenbachias too. They are really nice plants. I do love mine. So next is my Syngonium Neon Robusta, and yeah, this one was quite compact when I bought it, and it's just started to kind of get to the trailing stage almost. It started to kind of branch out a bit, so I'm just leaving it be for the time being, but I definitely do plan on giving this one something to climb. But this one brings me so much joy. I love the pink, I love the shape of the leaves, and yeah, it's just one of my favourite plants, and it definitely lives up to my expectations. I was kind of crazy for this plant last year, and I kept on finding them and buying more than one, and yeah, it's definitely lived up to expectations. I do really love it, and I'm definitely committed to growing this one big too. So yeah, check back in a year or two, or maybe even 3, and we'll follow the progress of this one together, because yeah, I really do want a big pink syngonium. Next is a Miranta, and I'll put the name up on screen because I can never remember it, but this one's pretty cool. I actually got this one's from Morrison's supermarket, and it was quite a good find because I don't really see this one around very often, but I really like the markings on the leaves, and this one has quite big leaves too compared to my other Miranta that I have. This one has quite large leaves, and I really like that about it. It also has more of a kind of a subtle colouring, and yeah, I really like that about it. It's not so garish on the eyes. It's got some really lovely kind of green tones to it, and yeah, I really love this one. It's a easy plant to grow. Next is my Aglionema White Joy. And yeah, this one's doing well. It isn't really growing at the moment, unlike one of my other aglaonemas. This one has kind of stopped growing and it seems pretty happy. It's certainly lost a few of its lower leaves, but I'm not particularly worried about that because that's normal for plants to do that. But yeah, this one's just kind of as it is really, and it will probably start growing again a little more in spring. But yeah, I've always loved this one. I just really love those white leaves with the green veining. So this is my philodendron silver sword. This remains one of my all-time favourite philodendrons. It is still growing at the moment, albeit slowly, and the leaves are a little small. It does now have a grow light, so hopefully maybe the leaves will size up a bit more, but it's looking really healthy because it did have a few problems with pests, and yeah, I would say it came through that really well, and it's still looking really nice. And yeah, there's a little bit of damage here and there from the pests, but for the most part, it's still looking really nice. And I just really love this one. I love the colour of the leaves. They're so glossy. You kind of get that blue silvery colour coming through. And yeah, it's just a really cool climbing plant. I definitely want to try and fill this one out a bit more during the spring. Maybe do some propagating or buy some extra plants to put in the soil, but I really enjoy growing this one, and yeah, I've had it for quite a while now, and it's a satisfying plant to grow. It's, as I say, one of my favourite philodendrons, and I think it will always be kind of on my top favourite plants lists for sure. Next is my Raven ZZ plant, and I really love this one. I think it's the only plant I have in my collection that is kind of almost black in colour. Most of the plants I have are either variegated or green, and I definitely love to collect some more plants with the darker leaves. I just really enjoy this one. It's so structural, and yeah, ZZ plants are super easy to care for, and this one will always be one of those staple plants that I have to have in my collection for sure. And if you don't have one, I could definitely recommend it. It's a really easy plant, and yeah, love it. So over here I have a smaller Dracaena fragrans, and I've had this one a while. It's a pretty hardy plant, I have to say. Very easy to care for, and it does cope with low light situations. But over here next to it I also have the same plant again, only this one is really big. So I actually bought this one fairly recently. It was in the sale and I didn't pay much for it, and it's a really huge plant, and yeah, I had to snap it up, but it's one of those plants which looks really good kind of in the background. It's a good space filler, and as I say, it is incredibly easy to care for too. Probably one of the easiest to care for plants, and I think it might be one of those really underrated plants too. And so next up we have a slightly sad looking Ficus tineki. Unfortunately, this one seems to be having problems again. I thought the spider mites were gone, but maybe they're not. It seems to be browning again. I don't know whether it's a watering issue this time or whether it's the spider mites are back, but I just don't seem to have a whole lot of luck with this one. The other rubber plants that I have are definitely way easier than this one for sure, but we'll see what happens. I will propagate this one in the spring, and yeah. But a plant that's doing really well is this Oxalis triangularis. It still hasn't gone dormant. It's still here, and it's kind of growing new leaves, but not very many, I would say. But I really love this one. It's so cool. It looks like little kind of purple butterflies, but it's one of those really fun plants to grow for sure. And then this is my yucca plant, and yeah, I grew this one from propagation, so all of the growth is new growth since I basically chopped the trunks, and yeah, it's actually getting a lot bigger. The leaves are kind of growing longer, and I can definitely see that they are kind of starting to flop over now, whereas they were just kind of stuck up before, if you know what I mean. So it's definitely still growing, and yeah, I'm really satisfied with how this one's going. especially since I kind of grew it myself from being propagated. And yeah, it's one of those success stories and one of those super easy plants that never gives me any stress at all. And then next we have a snake plant, and of course snake plants are super easy to care for, and this one never gives me any trouble either. It's really easy care and low maintenance, and yeah, who doesn't love a snake plant? They are really brilliant plants, and I just love how this one grows. It's very structural, and look at the new growth here. The variegation on the new growth is just absolutely beautiful. It kind of looks like, I guess, ripples in the sand or something like that, but it's really nice. Yeah, this one grows quite a lot during the spring, summer, and then yeah, it has a little rest during winter. So yeah, you can't go wrong with a snake plant, really, can you? And then over here I have holiday cactus. I believe it's the Easter cactus. It's the one with the red flowers, and yeah, it does still continue growing leaves during winter, and yeah, the flowers will come out around Easter time or just after. But again, this is another really easy plant that I never have to worry about. It doesn't ever give me any trouble, and it's just a really fun plant to keep. I absolutely love this one, and yeah, I think it will always be here in its little spot. And so next I have my syngonium albo, and this one is pretty much the apple of my eye at the moment. It's one of my favourite houseplants. I've been going on about it on my videos since I bought it in November, and even though it's currently winter here, it's still growing and putting out leaves. Even though it came through the post and it went through all that, it's just been such a brilliant plant, really easy care and fast growing. And yeah, it's definitely lived up to my expectations, and I have to say I'm very excited to see this one grow during spring summer, because presumably it will grow even faster, and yeah, I'll be able to see lots more progress and do lots of propagating, no doubt, knowing me. And then here we have kind of a little tradescantia. I can't remember the name of it, but it's really cute. It's got pink, and yeah, it's kind of like the nanook, only it's got much thinner leaves and it's much smaller. And yeah, this one's just a little tot that I recently bought from the garden centre, and tradescantias normally grow fairly fast. I think this one will probably need a repot at the beginning of spring for sure, so I am quite excited to see that one grow. And then next to it I have a peperomia hope, and yeah, I've definitely upped my confidence with the peperomias now, and this is my latest peperomia, and I really love how these leaves are kind of shaped like little kind of coins, and they're nice and smooth, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that one grow. And then here I have another little tradescantia. This one has got kind of fuzz on it, which is super cute and super weird. I'm really looking forward to seeing this one grow too, because at the moment it's obviously just a little baby, but I just think the fuzziness on this, it's also on the stems too. It's just such a unique and cool little plant. So yeah, I'm happy to have this little weirdo in my collection for sure. I don't think I've seen it around much. And then we have another tradescantia here. I'm definitely going hard on the tradescantias lately. This one kind of has slightly fuzzy leaves, just a little bit. They're kind of like a nice dark green, and then you've got that purple underneath, which I think is really complementary. This one seems to be doing pretty well. And yeah, again, looking forward to seeing this one get into its swing a bit once it gets going in kind of spring, summer, so I can watch it grow from a little baby to a big plant. And then another little baby that I have in my crash here, I kind of have a little grow light crash going on, is my philodendron painted lady. And yeah, this was a huge wish list plant, and I have this little baby one. It does have a new growth point coming there, but I don't think it's going to get going really until spring. So I am super excited to see what this one does as it grows. I can't wait to see it get another leaf, hopefully bigger than the one before it, and yeah, just watch it really take off and grow well for me, hopefully. And then nestled in next to that one, I have my rick-rack cactus. It's doing really well. It seems to be growing, albeit quite slowly. I have put it under a grow light recently here in the hope that maybe it might speed up a bit, but maybe it's just a slow grower. But I'm definitely looking forward to seeing this one grow a bit more and yeah, become more mature. And next we're moving on to my umbrella plant, and I've had this one quite a while. It's starting to get quite big, so I did have to repot it a couple of times in spring, and the roots seem to be really crazy fast growing, but it really seems to have come into its own this year because it's growing more than it ever has, and it seems to be kind of into the swing a bit more. So yeah, it's exciting to see this one taking off, and hopefully I'll get it to branch out a bit in spring summer. Maybe I will propagate it to do that, we'll see. And then over here is my syngonium white butterfly, my first ever syngonium. As you can see, it is very bushy and it's one of those really fast growers. It's really grown a lot, not only in spring summer, but it's still putting out leaves now, albeit a little bit more slowly. But yeah, this was always my first love syngonium, and I really enjoy watching this one grow. It's a really cool syngonium, pretty much the most standard syngonium you can get, but also I think probably one of the easiest too. This one is really simple to care for. And then over here is my string of hearts, another plant that I absolutely love. And yeah, it's kind of growing really long, as you can see. I'm kind of just going down here and it seems to be going on forever. It's still growing now, even in the colder months. And yeah, so far for me, it seems to be really easy to care for. So I really hope that continues, because you never know, sometimes plants can take a turn, but I really hope it continues as it has done. And then over here in this kind of bubble pot, I have my alocasia Barrina, and out of all of my alocasias, this one is doing the best. It did lose a bunch of leaves, which you can kind of expect from alocasias in the winter, but it still has 4 leaves, which is pretty good. I think it did have 7 or 8 before, so it has lost a few, but it's still looking okay and I'm happy with it. And then over here is one of my most recent plants. I absolutely love this one. It is the Ripsalis, and we're still not sure which one it is, so if anyone knows, do comment below. But I just think this one looks like a kind of crazy hairdo, and I really like that about this one. I love the way it trails off the shelf. It creates a lot of interest, and yeah, I just really love this one. It's one of those plants that I can definitely see myself having forever for sure. And then this is my Aglaonema Silver Queen, and this is my all-time favourite Aglaonema. This one is actually still growing at the moment. I just absolutely adore this one. It's got lovely variegation. It's really easy to care for, and I just couldn't recommend it enough, really. If you're looking for an Aglaonema to try, this one is definitely my favourite one so far. I might be looking out for a few more Aglaonemas in the new year. I don't know, we'll see what happens, but they don't always come up that often, but when they do, I always notice them and I end up kind of snapping them up when I do see them. Next up we have my Black Pagoda lipstick plant. This is such a full and jungly plant. I really love how it looks hanging from a shelf. It's a really dense kind of hanging plant that I really enjoy. It's nice to have different types of foliage next to each other, and yeah, this one is just really interesting to me. I've always found it kind of weird. It's slightly weird the way it grows, and The markings on it, I just really love it. It's an interesting plant. And then next to it, I have my neon pothos. Again, a lovely variation in colour and foliage next to the black pagoda. I just love how this one really stands out with its lovely kind of bright green. It's just beautiful. And yeah, I got this one this year just gone, and it has grown so fast. I mean, it was just a really small plant when I got it, and now it's really trailing low. I imagine it will touch the floor by the end of next year. And then over here is my philodendron Brazil, and I absolutely love this plant. It's one of the most common plants, but one of my favourites. I love the variegation on it. I love the heart-shaped leaves, and I love how it looks trailing as well. I think it's a really beautiful plant, and yeah, I would definitely recommend this to anyone, regardless of what kind of plant care level you're at. I really do love having these hanging plants on my shelves. They look so cool together and nice and jungly, which is what I'm going for here. And then moving down, this is my epipremnum cebu blue, and I absolutely love this plant. I recently bought another one because the one I had succumbed to root rot, so I was lucky enough to find this one, and I'm really happy that I did. Hopefully this one will be okay. This one actually has some beautiful mature leaves with some lovely fenestrations on them. I was super lucky to have found this in the sale for only £10, and yeah, I just adore this plant. It's got that gorgeous kind of bluey colour to it, and if I go down a bit here, you can see what the leaves look like when they are juvenile. They're kind of long and slim, and then as they mature, they will fenestrate, as you see here, and I think both juvenile and mature are beautiful. I have this one in a Buddha pot, and it just brings me a lot of peace. I mean, I'd say all my plants bring me peace, really, but I don't know, there's just something about this one that makes it extra special for me. And then over here, I have this little Haworthia big band, and I actually featured this in my worst plants of the year video, not because I dislike it, but just because it just does nothing. I do like looking at it, don't get me wrong, it's just that it doesn't really grow much, and I've got it under this grow light in the hope that maybe it will, but who knows. And then over here, this is another of my newest purchases. It is the tradescantia nanook. And yeah, I've wanted one of these for a while, and I kind of didn't buy one because they do require a bit of upkeep. They tend to get quite tatty over time, but I decided to bite the bullet and get one again. And I'm really glad I did because, yeah, I just really love the tradescantia nanook. I think it's a really beautiful plant. I'm definitely a fan of pink plants, and this one has just the right variegation. Speaking of variegation, we also have a marble queen pothos over here. This is my trailing one that I have, and I just absolutely adore this plant. I love the variegation in the leaves, and just look at this vine here. There's so much white in it. It's absolutely beautiful. And yeah, I've kind of put it under a grow light here in the hope that I'll get even more beautiful variegation. But this is one of those easy plants that also looks absolutely beautiful, and yeah, super easy to get hold of too. You will literally see these everywhere. And then we have over here my ZZ plant. This is the green one, and you can see here that the new leaves come in this kind of bright green. Really stunning bright green. It's so beautiful, and then as it matures it darkens off a bit to a slightly darker green, but I just love it when you've got new growth in amongst the original growth. The colour difference is just so beautiful and vibrant, and yeah, I am definitely a huge fan of these plants. As you saw earlier, I also have the Raven version, and I just think they are one of the best plants to have in your home. I will definitely always have them in my home. And if I just move this out of the way, over here I have a snake plant, but this is the moonshine snake plant, and yeah, this is definitely my favourite snake plant so far, and I just love this one. It's so beautiful and it's a very peaceful colour. It's got a very kind of smooth, peaceful texture too. There's just something about it that kind of really brings me joy. I just absolutely love this one. And also, if I kind of just turn it round for you here, when the new growth comes through, it's much lighter as well. And yeah, it definitely does live up to its name of moonshine. I just think it's absolutely gorgeous. And yeah, as I say, it's definitely my favourite snake plant and definitely in my list of all-time favourite plants. I can say that for sure as well. And then this is another marble queen, a marble queen pothos. And yeah, I have another one because I love these plants so much. And yeah, this one I'm growing climbing. So it's kind of nice to have one trailing and one climbing just to see what it does. And this one has probably even better variegation than the other one. It's very bushy. It's a really big plant. And yeah, it's just got gorgeous kind of whites and mints and all sorts of lovely variegation. I could just spend hours looking at this one. That's how beautiful it is. The different colours and the leaves, they really are interesting to look at, and I'm always discovering new ones too as I kind of patrol about and have a look at my plants. But this one's got to have surely some of the most stunning variegation in a plant. And something I've definitely noticed about mine, because I have one trailing and one climbing, the one that climbs definitely grows faster than the trailing one. So that's quite interesting. And presumably the leaves will get bigger at some point, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, I just really love this one. It brings me so much joy. And then another of my most recent plants, I absolutely love this plant. It is the ficus alii. And yeah, with it being a ficus, I was wondering how many leaves it might drop because it obviously made the journey from the garden centre to my home. But actually, it's only lost a few and it's doing really well. It's definitely a lot different to other ficus plants that I've seen. The leaves are kind of more elongated, almost like fingers, and there's something kind of elegant about it. And I just love the way it kind of fills the corner here. It was definitely a plant that was meant for me, I think, because I feel like it really fills this corner of my plant room really well. And yeah, I do love to fill all the space with plants, but this one is just really bringing me so much joy right now. And yeah, I just love it. I think it's gorgeous. I'm really glad that I finally managed to get one because I did actually have this one on my wish list for a while, but I just hadn't found one in the garden centre. I'd only ever seen them online before now. Next up is a plant that was on my wish list. This is the philodendron beatiae, and I just love this plant. Before I bought this one, I have to say I wasn't the biggest fan of plants with longer leaves, but this one has definitely converted me. I'm absolutely in love with it. It's got such thick, kind of green glossy leaves, and then you've got the orange of the stems against it. There's just something about it that I absolutely adore. I'm so happy that I got this one, and I am super excited to see this one grow in spring, to see how fast it grows, hopefully putting out lots of leaves and just to get it climbing up a pole probably. But this is one of the plants that I'm most excited to grow in this year, and this one is currently putting out a leaf there, but it's very slow to come out, but I'm hoping it'll be okay. But yeah, I just think this plant is gorgeous and I am super excited to grow it. As I say, in 2025, I really want to see what it does for me. I cannot wait. Next up is my Monstera adansonii, and I've given this one a pole extension recently. It just continues to grow like mad. I actually found this one in the sale and I couldn't believe the price that I got it for last year. It was only £20, but it's now pretty much almost twice the size that it was when I bought it, and it's already at the top of its pole. I've put it in this really cool disco planter too, which I think looks really nice with it. But yeah, this is just one of my biggest plants so far, and it really is a fast grower too. It still is growing at the moment, I have to say, just much slower, but in spring, summer, you wouldn't believe how fast these grow. This plant is also super easy to propagate too, so if you'd like to make more plants, then this one propagates really fast, I find, and yeah, it tends to start growing fairly quickly too. And yeah, I just love my Monstera adansonii. I much prefer it to the Monstera deliciosa. It's a lot more compact, and yeah, I just prefer it. And then this is a snake plant. This one is the Whitney snake plant. And yeah, I found this by chance in a supermarket and I didn't really know what kind of snake plant it was. You guys actually let me know. And yeah, I just think it's really cool. It's kind of got more of a dark tone to it. I really enjoy how snake plants come in all sorts of varieties, and whenever I see a new one, I just can't help but collect it. And yeah, this one is one of those ones that I just didn't know existed, and when I saw it, I thought I have to get that. Another snake plant which is really cool is this fernwood snake plant, and again, I just think it's really cool. It's kind of like spindly fingers, and of all my snake plants, I'd say probably this one has grown the most this year. It put out all these new little kind of spindles, you can see. I call them spindles, but yeah, this one's pretty cool. As I say, it looks like kind of witch's fingers, and yeah, I'm really happy to have added this plant to my collection. I'm fast kind of collecting as many snake plants as I can possibly find, and this one is definitely very interesting. And next is my variegated peace lily, and yeah, I had this on my wish list last year and I was lucky enough to find it. They're actually pretty easy to get hold of and fairly common too. So if you want to get one yourself, it should be pretty easy to get hold of. I do see them around a lot here in the UK at least. I don't know how it is in other countries, but yeah, this one's pretty cool. It's got some really cool variegation on it, and I always really like the texture of the leaves too. I've got it in this kind of blush pink pot, which I think looks quite nice with it. I think it's quite an elegant kind of soft colour for it. And yeah, it does have a flower coming through too. And this is another Monstera adansonii, only this one is one that I propagated myself. So I basically just planted a load of propagations from the bigger plant that I showed you a minute ago. And this is the result so far. Obviously, it's got a little bit of a way to go, but yeah, I'm just finding it quite satisfying to see this grow, knowing that I've propagated it and grown it myself. So yeah, let's see how it goes. And then over here I have my ficus Belize, and this one I have to say has given me far less trouble than the ficus tineki. I've found this one to be much easier. This one I've only had for one season, so it hasn't really done much growing for me yet, but I think it will probably do some growing for me in 2025, so I am looking forward to that. But I just love the glossiness of the leaves. I love the variegation. It's kind of like camouflage, and yeah, as I say, it seems to be easier than the Taneki. I don't know why that one just doesn't agree with me, but I just absolutely adore this one with those kind of red tones, and I think this pot looks quite nice against the kind of pinky red tones as well. Next is another wish list plant that I ticked off my list last year. This is the Philodendron Prince of Orange, and yeah, I just adore this one. It's got so many cool colours in it, not just the orange, but as they fade out, you kind of get a hint of it still in the green, and you get all this variation in colours. And yeah, it's one of my favourite philodendrons and very easy to care for too. So yeah, it never gives me any fuss whatsoever. This is a purple passion plant, and yeah, this one's kind of cool. It's got sort of green undertone, and then the purple that you see is kind of purple hairs, so it comes out more purpley when it first grows, and then eventually it kind of fades out a bit more to green. But I just think it's kind of a really unique and fun plant to grow. It's definitely got that sense of fun to it, you know, with it having the purple in it and it having the kind of little fuzzy bits. But yeah, this is a vining plant too, so as it grows, it does start to vine eventually. So I am looking forward to seeing it start to trail eventually. That will be fun to watch it grow. And then this is another Ficus Billy's ruby, bit like the one I showed you a minute ago, only it's a baby. And yeah, I expect I'll probably combine the two eventually. I just happened to find this one first, and then I found the bigger one, so I bought that as well. So yeah. And then this is a whale fin snake plant, and yeah, it has 3 little whale fins in there at the moment, and it's still a baby. Obviously, I expect you've seen whale fin snake plants. They do get quite big, but this one's just a little baby, and it's a very slow grower, but it has some really cool variegation on the leaves, and yeah, it's nice and smooth to the touch too. But it usually grows about 1 leaf per season, I find. As I say, it's not the fastest grower, but I really do enjoy this plant. I think it is super cute. And then this is my Chinese money plant, and I really like this one. The shape of the leaves with that little kind of lighter bit in the middle. I don't know, there's just something about it that I find really fun, and the way it kind of hangs its leaves too. It's a fun plant, and yeah, it's always putting out new leaves. Again, a little bit slower in winter, but it never really stops. And over here I have also a cutting of a umbrella plant. This was a cutting that I took from a plant that had root rot, and this is the variegated one. So I'm very happy that it survived because I really do like this plant. This is the one with the kind of more yellow variegation in it. So hopefully now that it's been propagated and it's established some healthy roots, it will grow a bit more in 2025. Maybe it will take a year or two to get started, but at least I saved the plant. So yeah, that was a success story this year. And then this is my Scindapsus exotica. This one is definitely not a very fast grower, although I have had it only one kind of summer really, but it definitely hasn't grown as fast as some of my other plants, but it is starting to vine, and so it is showing good signs of growth, but maybe it will take off a little more in spring 2025. And then this here is my money tree, my Pachira aquatica, and I did want one of these for quite some time, and I finally managed to find one, and I've actually found this to be a really easy plant to care for, and I just really like it. It's kind of got a mini sort of palm tree look about it, if you know what I mean. I don't know. I think these do get quite big too. Obviously, mine is still a baby at the moment, so over time it could kind of grow into a bit of a tree. But yeah, I just really love this one. Next is my philodendron ring of fire. And this is another wishlist plant that I managed to get this year. It has some really unique shaped leaves, and yeah, it's kind of got a serration to it, I suppose. And this one is variegated. Mine is kind of not as highly variegated as they can be, so this year I plan on trying to give this one a bit more light in the hope that I can increase the variegation, but it's still a really stunning plant and definitely one of the most interesting to grow. I really like watching the new leaves come out and seeing kind of what variegation there will be and how serrated the leaves will be. And then over here, this is my philodendron pink princess that is basically not doing a great deal. It is putting out new leaves and it is growing, but honestly, it doesn't really synthesize up much, and there isn't a great deal of pink in it. But you know, it's one of those curiosity plants, so I'm still finding it kind of fun to grow and watch. So yeah, it's never going to be top of my favourites list, I don't think, not unless it suddenly started getting big pink leaves, but that's okay. It's just it is what it is, basically. And then next to it here, I have my alocasia dragon scale. And yeah, this one had a little bit of a struggle recently. I did think that it was pretty much going to go completely dormant. It did lose a lot of leaves, but it's improved a little bit now and it's looking a bit healthier. So I think maybe the grow lights have helped for sure. If you've got an alocasia, I definitely recommend putting it under grow lights during the winter months for sure. Otherwise, it will probably go dormant. But let's hope for the best with this one and hope it comes through. And then this is another sad looking alocasia. It's my alocasia polly, and this one didn't fare too well either. It's got 2 leaves at the moment, and yeah, I'm pretty sure it's probably going to end up in the 1 leaf club eventually. But I do have hope that this one will start to grow again in spring. That's what alocasias do, so it's okay. And then I have my aloe vera, and Vera is very easy to care for and has always been completely fuss free. I just love this plant. It's another of those kind of plants that I will always have in my collection and that I find really easy to look after, and it has so many babies too, which are super cute. I love watching the little babies come through. They tend to grow more during the spring, summer, but yeah, it's getting quite top heavy now and it does like to grow. And then over here I have a variegated weeping fig. I think it's called the Twilight, but I just really love this one. It's so elegant and it has lovely variegation with the kind of white on the edges of the leaves. I think it's a really pretty plant. And yeah, I definitely love this one just as much as the one with the solid green leaves. They're both really pretty plants. I think they're very elegant. And then over here is my Thaumatophyllum, and I don't want to jinx it, but I think it's stabilizing after the root rot problem. It seems to be doing a lot better. So I'm hoping that that is the case. It seems to have stopped kind of browning and yellowing, and it seems to be a lot happier. So maybe this plant will make it through. I mean, if it doesn't, then that's just how it is, isn't it? I'm kind of at the mercy of nature, but I did do what I could for it. And as I say, it does seem to have stabilised now. So I have hope that this one is going to survive. And then this is a mixture of 2 different tradescantias. You've got the tradescantia purple passion, pretty obvious which one that is. And then you've got the tradescantia sabrina in there with it. And yeah, it's a mixed pot. And this one is a fast grower. And yeah, it's kind of going nuts, as you can see. Lots of growth, and it's a really satisfying plant to grow. Very, very easy to propagate too. They propagate really, really fast. I propagated mine even in winter, and yeah, it went just fine. So this one is definitely one of those colourful plants that brings a lot of joy to me, and I always enjoy looking at it and watching it grow. And yeah, it seems to grow even in the colder months, as I say, which is really satisfying. And then I'm not going to take this one down, but I'll just give you a look at my bird of paradise. It's just doing its thing. It's not doing a great deal at the moment, but it's alive. And then another umbrella plant here. This is my variegated umbrella plant. I really do love this one. It's kind of segregated a little bit at the moment because it had a couple of spider mites. Granted, it was only a couple, but you never know, do you? Where there's one, there's probably more. So it's over here at the moment where it can't get to the other plants. But yeah, I just love this one. I'm a big umbrella plant fan. As you'll know if you've been on my channel before, I think they are some of the prettiest plants. And then this is my sad looking philodendron imperial green. Yes, it's had a lot of pest problems this year and it does look very damaged, but it is still surviving, it is still growing, and I still love it, even with all its imperfections. So it's just going to hopefully recover even more as the year goes on. I think it might still have spider mites, but you know, it's putting out new leaves. There's a new leaf up there. And yeah, this one is a real survivor.
Thanks so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.